Hi there, and welcome to the Daily Gardener, an almanac of garden history, literature, and small botanical joys. I'm Jennifer Eadling, and today is June 30th, the last day of June. Gertrude Jekyll, the great English garden designer, described this month as perfectly as anyone ever has. She wrote, "What is one to say about June? The time of perfect young summer, the fulfillment of the promise of the earlier months, and with as yet no sign to remind one that its fresh young beauty will ever fade." And right now, today, that is exactly true. But here is what is also true. By this time next month, every trace of June's glory will be fully in the past. The roses will be spent, the peonies long gone, and the foxglove finished. And we will be in that quiet lull, that in-between time, before August brings us its second summer. It's hard to believe how quickly June's bloomers leave us, but they do. So plan now. Grab some annuals before they disappear. Nursery stock diminishes greatly after the 4th of July, and the best plants will be gone first. So act accordingly. Here's today's garden history. It was on this day in 1817 that the English botanist Joseph Dalton Hooker was born in Halesworth, Suffolk, in England. Joseph's father, Sir William Jackson Hooker, would become the first director of the Royal Botanic Gardens at Kew. So Joseph grew up surrounded by plants, botanists, and stories of the great voyages around the world. Those stories took root. And by the age of 22, Joseph had earned his medical degree at the University of Glasgow. And only a few months later, he sailed as assistant surgeon aboard the HMS Erebus on a 4-year expedition to Antarctica. And during the voyage, Joseph spent far more time collecting plants than practicing medicine. One of the expedition's most important discoveries came on the remote island of Kerguelen, where Joseph found the leafy Kerguelen cabbage. For more than 4 months, it supplied the only fresh vegetable available to the crews. Remarkably, not a single sailor developed scurvy. When Joseph returned to England, he met Charles Darwin, and within months, Darwin entrusted him with a secret he had shared with no one else. Writing in 1844, Darwin confessed, "I am almost convinced that species are not immutable." Then he added that telling Joseph was like confessing a murder. For the next 15 years, Joseph remained Darwin's closest confidant. Meanwhile, his own work took him to see the eastern Himalayas, where he collected more than 7,000 plants, including 25 new species of rhododendron that helped ignite the Victorian passion for Himalayan gardens. But not every expedition ended well. After crossing into Tibet, Joseph was arrested by the Diwan of Sikkim and held prisoner for 6 weeks before finally being released on Christmas Day. In 1865, following his father's death, Joseph became director of Kew Gardens, where he spent the next 20 years, transforming Kew into the world's leading botanical institution. Through it all, his friendship with Darwin never wavered. And when Darwin died, Joseph served as one of his pallbearers at Westminster Abbey. Joseph himself died in 1911 at the age of 94. And although Westminster offered him a place beside Darwin, his family chose instead to bury him at St. Anne's Church, just steps from Kew Gardens, beside his father. A year later, Westminster Abbey placed a memorial to Joseph along the same aisle where Darwin rests. Its inscription is wonderfully modest. Joseph Dalton Hooker, most skilled at the science of herbs. And it was on this day in 1997 that the English landscape architect Sylvia Crowe died in London. She was 95 years old. Sylvia was born in 1901 in Banbury, Oxfordshire, England. One of her earliest memories was sitting in a forest on the island of Corsica, surrounded by wild cyclamen. Then tuberculosis kept her from attending school. So her mother turned the countryside into Sylvia's classroom. There, she learned to read landscapes the way other children learned to read books. That lesson shaped Sylvia's entire life. During the Second World War, she drove ambulances through northern France, helping evacuate the wounded as Europe collapsed around her. When peace returned, Britain needed rebuilding, and Sylvia opened a landscape architecture practice just as the country began creating its new towns. She designed the parks, the greenways, and open spaces between neighborhoods, places where children could walk to school without crossing busy roads. Then Sylvia began asking much bigger questions. Why, she wondered, should engineers alone decide how power stations, reservoirs, or highways fit into the landscape? Surely beauty belonged there too. In her groundbreaking book, The Landscape of Power, Sylvia argued that landscape architects should help shape the modern world. Remarkably, Britain listened. Her greatest project became the nuclear power station at Trawsfynydd, set within Snowdonia National Park in Wales. Instead of allowing the station to dominate the mountains, Sylvia tucked it into the foothills, using the land itself to soften its presence. Later, in The Landscape of Roads, she wrote that a highway should never be just pavement. It should be a sequence of views experienced by someone moving through the landscape. But perhaps her most lasting influence came through the British Forestry Commission. She looked at endless plantations of Sitka spruce and called them corduroy hillsides, and she urged foresters to follow the curves of streams, ridges, and valleys, letting the forests fit the land rather than fight it. In time, Sylvia's ideas changed the look of Britain. She became the first landscape architect ever made a dame. And she continued working well into her 80s. And when she died on this day, June 30th in 1997, she was buried in her hometown of Banbury. Today, when forests flow naturally over Britain's hills, when roads unfold as beautiful journeys, or when parks bring neighborhoods to life, there's a good chance you're seeing the quiet genius of Sylvia Crowe. In today's Unearthed Words, we hear a diary entry from the writer Susan Wittig Elbert, written on this day, June 30th, in 2008. This is an excerpt from her book, An Extraordinary Year of Ordinary Days. Susan wrote, "Live in a place long enough, watch patiently enough, and you'll see plants at their prettiest. The prairie flame-leaf sumac, for instance, is in spectacular flower this week, to the delight of the sweet-toothed insects feasting on the nectar. Hundreds of these small trees grow wild in a wilderness corner of our 31 acres, and the females, the lovelier of the species, are covered with creamy flower clusters that ripen into reddish-brown fruits, a mainstay winter food for raccoons, possums, deer, and birds. Native Americans steeped sumac fruits in water to make a tart drink that settlers called Indian lemonade. The sumac's at its finest, the glorious blossoms busy with insects, the dawn-washed air fresh and cool, a blue sky arching overhead. Such abundance, such beauty, such grace grown from a generous earth." Susan knew those 31 acres the way you only know a place after years of living with it. June gives us the roses, the peonies, and the lavender, but Susan reminds us to notice the sumac as well. The plants that quietly feed the birds, the bees, and even us, if we're willing to make a pitcher of Indian lemonade. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, Private Gardens of the Hudson Valley by Jane Garmy. Private Gardens Week continues today, and that means that all of this week's book recommendations feature America's most beautiful landscapes. The Hudson Valley stretches north from New York City, where river, meadow, and mountain come together in unforgettable ways. Jane Garmy, an English-born writer and gardener, visited 26 private gardens throughout the valley that were photographed by John Hall, and she told each garden story with warmth and curiosity. What surprised Jane most was the landscape itself. She wrote, "When I began work on the book, I did not know how intensely rural this part of New York still was. I was also unprepared for the grandeur of the landscape. The sweeping valleys and the large open tracts of land are remarkably different from the gentler, more protected countryside of Connecticut." Well, the gardens in this book are wonderfully varied. One surrounds a federal house built in the 1820s. Another began as what its owners called a big, long, dreary space, before becoming an exuberant garden of verbascum, milkweed, thistles, a pond, and a path so narrow, visitors must enter single file. But what Jane discovered most was this. She wrote, "Few of these garden makers were in any way knowledgeable when they started out. Most admit they were entirely focused on their houses and gave little thought to the surrounding land." It's a book of enlightened amateurs, every one. The Private Gardens of the Hudson Valley is a wonderful reminder that beautiful gardens rarely begin with expertise. Instead, they begin with good old-fashioned curiosity. And finally, here's something sweet to ignite the little botanic spark in your heart. It was on this day in 1911 that the Polish poet Czesław Miłosz was born in what is now Lithuania. As a boy, Czesław grew up on his grandfather's estate among orchards, hazel groves, and a bed of peonies his mother loved. Those early gardens never left him, and in 1980, Czesław received the Nobel Prize for Literature. But long before that, during the darkest days of the Second World War, while living under Nazi occupation in Warsaw, he wrote a remarkable cycle of poems called The World, a naive poem. One of those poems is called By the Peonies. Czesław wrote, "The peonies bloom white and pink, and inside each, as in a fragrant bowl, a swarm of tiny beetles have their conversation, for the flower is given to them as their home. Mother stands by the peony bed, reaches for one bloom, opens its petals, and looks for a long time into peony lands, where one short instant equals a whole year." Years later, after exile had taken Czesław first to Paris and then to California, he found another garden, and this one overlooked San Francisco Bay. This is where he wrote one of the most beloved garden poems of the 20th century, called Gift. In it, he wrote, "A day so happy, fog lifted early, I worked in the garden. Hummingbirds were stopping over honeysuckle flowers. There was no thing on earth I wanted to possess. I knew no one worth my envying him. Whatever evil I had suffered, I forgot. When straightening up, I saw the blue sea and sails." I love that poem, not because nothing difficult had ever happened to Czesław. Quite the opposite. He had witnessed war, exile, and loss. And yet, on one ordinary morning, the garden gave him a day so happy. And every June, when the peonies open, I think of Czesław's mother, lifting a blossom, looking deep inside, as though, for just a moment, time itself had stopped. As we close the show today, remember, this is the last day of June. Tomorrow, the calendar turns. So tonight, if the light is still good, step outside. Walk slowly through your garden. Visit the roses, the catmint, the foxglove, if any still lingers. Whatever is spilling over the edge of that old pot by the front door. Look at it all the way Gertrude Jekyll did, as the fulfillment of a promise. Then tomorrow, head to the nursery and find something that will make July every bit as beautiful. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener. And remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day.